Okay, so this one took longer than expected to pull off, but here we are. Now in the last video, I was getting started with my HDZero goggle journey and talked about why I went this route and gave some initial impressions on the setup and 90 FPS camera. Spoiler alert, the more I use it, the more I like it. But today it's all about the Walksnail VRX and what it's like using them together. So let's jump into that so this isn't a 20-minute video that you'll never finish. Now there are many ways to attach the Walksnail VRX, but I went with this mount found on Printables, and I'll link that down in the description, along with a nice HDZero mini HDMI cable because the one Walksnail shipped with is a sin, and it destroys the simplicity and the aesthetic of the combination. I also used the HDZero VRX splitter cable rather than the adapter that came with the Walksnail VRX, so yeah, I spent about an extra $30 on top of the VRX alone. But it was definitely worth it for the creature comforts in my opinion. Okay, but how well does it work? The optics are solid and the image is as good as it was with my Walksnail V1 goggles. But what about the different modes? See, I fly Walksnail in two modes primarily, 720p high frame rate and race mode. So I'm mostly worried about those, and anything outside of that I really don't care about personally. Now I'm happy to share that 720p high frame rate is working exactly as it should. It's smooth, clear, and responsive. Although there is a touch of latency that I notice now, but I'm not certain if that's just from spending the days racing with the 90 FPS camera then switching over, but I am very pleased with this experience overall. And while I've never been one to mess with 1080p 60, I have used it on my Avatar goggles with my 7-inch cruiser, and with the current firmware, which is 9.2 for analog purposes, we'll talk about that in the next video, well, it's simply unusable. While the VRX DVR on screen is nice and smooth, it's frame skipping mess in the goggles. So it's 100% a no-go, unless you like to see it in what I like to refer to as PowerPoint mode. Slide, 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 slide. Not flyable in my opinion. Now, on to race mode. See, I'm a little mixed on this one. In the Walksnail goggles, you get 540p high frame rate and race band channels. Now listen, while I don't intend to actually race with Walksnail, it is super useful to be able to use it while flying along analog pilots. That way you don't cause them any issues. And I can use it to record races without interfering with other pilots. That aside, you do get the 540p and it does work. However, it's only doing it at 60 FPS, so the latency is unfortunately high at around that 35 millisecond mark. But it is stable and more flyable than I expected. Now, am I happy with that? Not really, but maybe someone could sort this out, whether that be the Walksnail team or the HDZero team. I'm not really sure where the issue lies there. But now the real question, was it worth it for me to go this route? Well, personally, yes. So far, my single goggle strategy is paying off. I'm really enjoying the HDZero, and I can still enjoy my little pile of Walksnail quads without having to worry about grabbing a second set of goggles on the go. But would I recommend buying this setup for other folks? Well, it really depends on, well, the usual answer. Which one do you want to fly more of? If you want to fly more Walksnail, you're going to want to get the Walksnail, and I'd recommend those Goggle X's because they're not that bad. But if you're going to want to do HDZero first, well, it's the only way you're going to get that 90 FPS camera operating, and that's the goggles. So there's a bit of playoff back and forth. But for now, I'll be rocking this solution, and I'm personally starting to wonder just how many quads I might start converting to HDZero. Now up next is the analog experience, so make sure you're subscribed and hit that bell notification if you want to see how well that's going, and well, you're going to find out why I haven't let my Orca pilots go just yet. That video may be a bit of a doozy. We'll catch you there.